Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of On the Mark with Mark Hamade, presented by Salina Tech on 95.5 The Rock. I'm your host, Morgan Lillick, joined as always in studio here by Mark Hamade. Mark, great to have you back in studio.
Hey, Morgan, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We've got a great topic designed for you guys tonight. We're talking about excellence and sustainability and how you can find greater success in both to really utilize that to catapult your business to the next level. And we will jump right into the discussion here this evening. Mark, first off, define excellence for our listeners. I know it sounds silly, but what is your version of excellence?
Hey, excellence to me is quality, right? It's a talent surpassing the ordinary of standards. So being above ordinary, that's to me excellence. We always try to achieve it, but it's very hard. A good saying I always say, practice makes perfect.
Yeah, and it's absolutely true. And we've talked a lot on our show about going the extra mile. You achieve excellence by going the extra mile. You really got to put in that time, that effort. You have to have the desire to want to do something bigger and better than anybody's done it before. That's how you will achieve excellence, even if you fall short of your goals. If that is your main goal heading out, to be better than everyone at what you do, then you are on the path to excellence. Mark, talk a little bit about what business owners can do to better pave the road forward to greater success in the future. How can they set themselves up for excellent results?
Well, it's about stepping outside the comfort zone, training with a spirit, progressing, in effect, laying the foundation. That's when you're on the path. You take responsibility. You go the extra mile. You show enthusiasm. You take ownership of problems. You introduce improvements. You learn new skills. And, you use common sense.
Well, there you go. It's pretty simple, folks. If you want to find excellence, you just go the extra mile. It really comes down to that. All of those things that Mark just said, all of those tools are keys that you can utilize to find greater success and to achieve excellence within your workplace. Now, that's great mottos to follow for our owners out there, our managers, our industrial leaders. How would you transfer that over to some of the lower level employees? How can they achieve excellence? And is it defined just by upward mobility within your company? Or are there other ways that people can achieve?
No, absolutely not. You give assistance to others, respond positively to requests for help, clarify the way forward for others, empower others, help each other, right? Inspire confidence into each other, be self-motivated, network with each other and colleagues, watch others who do their job really, really well and try to emulate them. Check the quality of your own work, right? Set a clear vision of what is required for your success. Then maybe try to see the big picture of where you want to go and never give up.
It all comes down to caring about what you're doing, being emotionally involved in whatever work you're doing, whether you're out there, whether you love your job, whether you're like, I'm going through the motions. You have to really find that passion and that drive to achieve excellence. It doesn't just show up overnight, knock on your door and say, hey, guess what? It's time to get excellent, folks. I'm here and let's do this thing. No, you have to really get out there and work hard to achieve excellence. You have to want it and you have to take the initiative to go out and get it. Now, Mark, we also were talking about sustainability, and we will intertwine the two topics here shortly. But first off, for our listeners, define sustainability. It's one of those words that people hear, they know about, but they're a little bit fuzzy on what the definition of sustainability is. So what does that mean to you?
Once again, it's based to me on a simple principle. Everything that we need to do for survival and well-being depends either directly or indirectly on our natural environment. Sustainability is important to make sure that we have and will continue to have the water, materials, and resources to protect the human health and our environment and protect ourselves so the earth doesn't perish.
You've got that right. And the way that our society is set up now, we are a consumer-based society. We consume, and we keep on consuming until everything is gone. But what happens when everything is gone? What is left to consume? That's a path that this country and quite frankly, many nations around the world are heading towards. And sustainability is definitely taken the forefront over the past 20 to 30 years as people have realized, hey, we don't have enough resources for this thing to last forever. We've got to do something to sustain ourselves for the long haul. You can't think short term. You have to think about the long term, the big picture, and how you can sustain yourselves throughout. And that lesson transfers over nicely into the business world. Because if you're thinking short term, sure, you might have great gains in the early going, but if you're not setting yourself up to be able to sustain that success through an extended period of time, a competitor will rise up and take your market share from you. It's going to happen. There's competition in virtually every area of business, industry, retail, whatever you're looking at, you've got competition out there. And if you aren't able to sustain your model, you're bound for failure.
Absolutely. And I would add, Morgan, sustainability, whether it's in business or in the environment, that word is not just lingo. It came out and emerged as a result of significant concerns about the intended social, environment, and economic consequences of rapid population growth, economic growth and consumption of our natural resources. And in business, you've seen it with the housing market crash, with a stock market crash, with everything that goes on, where it has grown exponentially, and then boom, it busts. And so sustainability is critical in everything that you do. Even in weight loss, you lose weight too fast, boom, you can gain it back. So anything you do rapidly can be very dangerous. It's about doing it right and sustaining that momentum.
It's not about how fast you accomplish the tasks at hand. It's about how well you do them, and that will sustain you through the long haul. Sure, you get something done and worked out real quick. Say for instance, I'm writing an ad script for a client. I know they need it soon, so I just whip something up and get it right out to them. It could be crap, and they don't. That's not going to do their business any good, so why would I send that to them? Why would I provide something for somebody that's not going to be of benefit to them? I would much rather take the extra time to give them something of quality. That's what's going to benefit them. Quality over quantity. You know, the tortoise and the hare. It's a great analogy. I know it's just a kid's story, but it transfers over to the business world as well. Sure, you might want to get out there and get it done the fastest and be finished up and move on to the next thing, but it really comes down to taking the time to doing things right. Now, Mark, how is sustainability possible? There's got to be listeners out there who be like, wow, you know, that's just too much for me. I don't think that's something we can do. Is sustainability possible with pretty much any business model?
Absolutely, absolutely. You've got to work on your foundation and create a clear path to sustain your business and to support it and to support your employees and so forth. It absolutely is.
Now, when you're mixing excellence with sustainability, what we're talking about is defining and building a tradition of excellence. You start off, you've got to go the extra mile. You've got to take that initiative to really be the best in whatever field you're in. Just put that extra time, that extra effort, the extra work in. Maybe, you see other people leaving the office early. It's Friday. Somebody wants to bump out of there at 3. Sure, that's fun, but that's not going to help you in the long haul. Put the extra time and the effort in to achieve excellence. And then it all comes down to sustaining that excellence. And when you do that, you're building a tradition of excellence. Now, I know that a lot of you have heard of it out there. I'm a Broncos fan personally, and a lot of Chiefs fans in the area. We can only agree on one thing. We don't like the Raiders. But the Raiders, Al Davis had one thing going for him. He wanted to establish a tradition of excellence. And throughout the 70s and into the 80s, before he was a little past his prime as far as football knowledge and front office management went, he did a great job of establishing that tradition of excellence. And long after it was gone, the residue remained. So if you do establish something, if you do develop a tradition of excellence, you can sustain yourself through the hard times. The market crashes. You can manage to get through these things by having that tradition of excellence. You've done things the right way. You can sustain through the tough times to survive for when the good times return.
Absolutely. I would agree with you 100%. I think you hit it on the spot, Morgan.
Hey, it's nice to be on the mark. Hey, brother, that's usually your game.
That's right.
Well, hey, when we come back, we have an outstanding interview guest lined up for you today, folks. Paul Pickett, the sales manager for merchant wear products for the southern region of Gerdau Steel, a global-wide corporation, is going to be joining us on the phone. Really looking forward to this one, and that's coming up next when we return with more On the Mark with Mark Hamade, presented by Salina Tech, right here on 95.5 The Rock. Stay tuned. Welcome back to On the Mark with Mark Hamade, presented by Salina Tech on 95.5 The Rock. Our show brought to you by many valued sponsors. We'd like to thank Hassman Termite and Pest Control, providing 50 years of quality service from the Hassman family. The Reardon Clinic in Wichita. Their doctors listen. Find out more by calling 1-800-447-7276 or go online to reardonclinic.org. And by Salina Tech. Life's a trip. Get directions. You can learn more at salinatech.edu. Our guest tonight joins us from Gerdau Steel. He's the sales manager of merchant wear products for the southern region. It's Paul Pickett. Paul, we're happy to have you on the show tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mark. You guys have a great discussion lined up tonight to tell our listeners a little bit more about sustainability here in this economy. Mark, I'll turn it over to you at this time, and looking forward to a great discussion.
Hey, thank you, Morgan. I'm glad to have Paul on here. It's exciting. Gerdau is a great company, but a lot of people may not know it who are not in the steel. So for our listeners, Paul, could you tell us what you do at Gerdau and what is Gerdau?
You bet, Mark. We are the second largest mini mill steel producer in North America. Let me give you a little bit of information. I use the term mini mill. Basically, that is a reference to mills that are smaller than the original blast furnace technology mills that everyone is familiar with from the past. Mini mills are much smaller environmental footprint. We recycle 100% of the steel that we produce comes from recycled materials, and so the term mini mill came from that change from the steel producers of the old days. What I do with the company is I'm sales manager for the southern region for merchant bar products. So in addition to my reference to our position in the marketplace for North America, we also happen to be the 14th largest steel producer globally as well. So we are not just only based in North America, but in quite a few other countries as well.
Now, Paul, the topics we're discussing today are both dear to my heart. One is excellence and the other one is sustainability. Why don't you tell the listeners what excellence means to you and to Gerdau?
Excellence, from our perspective, really is what is required to be the supplier of choice. We want our customers to look at us as really the company that they look to first to supply their requirements. When we look at measuring ourselves from an excellence standpoint, we use benchmarking. And benchmarking is both something that's established from an internal perspective and also from a global perspective as well. So depending on where we are in our individual processes, be it processes involving production or the commercial team, any other aspect of our organization, depending on where we are as far as our progress and our performance within our company is the basis for that decision as to which benchmark we use. So that's really how we look at excellence within our company. It's all about performance, and the way that we actually accomplish that is through what we call GBS. It's the Gerdau Business System. It's an extremely valuable tool for us. It's one in which we use KPIs, or key performance indicators, to measure our performance, and that's measured against prior years, and it's also measured against those benchmarks that I talked about just a second ago.
Excellent, excellent. I would echo your words, and I would only add one other thing. Whenever I go into a new company or I'm consulting a company or giving them advice, I use one word: excellence equals quality. Because if you've got the quality and it's top-notch, the customers will come in and will buy from you and will continue to want to work. So I always try to drum it down into that, then go into the benchmarks and so forth. But excellence, to me, it has to start with quality.
I agree.
Thank you on that. Now, what does sustainability mean to you and to Gerdau?
For us, Mark, it's really two aspects to our business. When people think of sustainability, it can be environmental, it can be business. In our case, it's certainly both. Again, as an electric arc furnace company, we count on recycled material for our feedstock, as you were. Instead of the iron ore and the coke and the lime of the blast furnaces, unfortunately, we grind up a few 57 Chevys and send them back to make new steel out of those. But from a sustainability standpoint and in the environmental aspect, that's critical for us. From the business standpoint, it really comes down to measuring, again, our performance, as I indicated in the Gerdau Business System. It's about being consistent. We look at our business relationships as long-term relationships. We're not in this for the short haul. I didn't mention earlier, but our company is actually over 110 years old. So we obviously look toward the long term. We're not interested in just what we can do today, but we're looking as to what we can do for both our customers, our shareholders, and our employees for the long term.
Absolutely. And I would echo sustainability, to me, emerged as a result of significant concerns, for the social, environment, and economic consequences. As you know, we've rapidly grown and consumed the natural resources. But to me, it's really based on a simple principle. Everything that we need for our survival and well-being depends either directly or indirectly on our natural environment. And that's very critical to take care of that. How do you apply it with your current customer, and how does it apply with your future customers?
Well, we seek, first of all, to understand our customers' business. If we're going to serve our customers properly, we really have to understand what their true needs are. It's not about us selling them a product, it's about us servicing their needs, and that product is just part of that. And so we work to identify those needs and basically develop solutions for those needs. So when we talk about sustainability, again, it's that approach and understanding the customer's needs so that we can sustain both our future and our customers' future. Because without our customers' success and growth, then we obviously will not be successful long-term as a company.
Absolutely. Now, Paul, how do you use excellence and sustainability with your team at work? Because you and I both know to achieve excellence and to achieve sustainability, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's hard work. It's extra effort. It's more time. Yes, at the end of the road, just like being ISO certified or whatever, or getting your degree or going through a conference or whatever, you're grateful, you're thankful, it's great. But the work to get to excellence and the work to get your company and your products to sustainability, it's a lot of work. So you've got to keep your team motivated and excited, and they've got to believe in the same mantra.
Absolutely, Mark. And there's several ways that we do that. First of all, from our team standpoint, every year we conduct what we refer to as our engagement survey. We put out a survey. It's totally anonymous for all of our team members. That's a commercial group, that's production, financial, all aspects of our organization. And the engagement part really is to determine how proactive an associate is within the company. We all know that if someone is engaged, that means they're excited about the company, they're excited about what they do, both for their own personal benefit and for the benefit of the company and its customers. So from the team side, we use that as a benchmark for us to tell us, are we on the right track, or there's some things we need to do? How are we progressing? And rest assured, those are some very lofty targets that we set for employee engagement. To measure that outside our team, we also use the customer survey. We do this once a year as well. It's very broad in spectrum. It's sent to many different customer types, and the feedback that we get from them is frequently very specific about how we're doing in areas. As you mentioned, quality is critical. How's quality? How is responsiveness, not only at the various sales levels, but at the mills as well? So those are two of the tools that we use to measure both internal and external performance and engagement.
Excellent. Now, my last question to you, Paul, is if a listener needs to buy from the mills, why should they buy from Gerdau and make it the top choice to buy from?
I think it comes back to one of the statements I made early on, Mark, is that the way we sum up our overall existence is to be our customers' supplier of choice. If they really look at what their requirements are and their needs are and the solutions they're looking for, they look at those needs and they think of us. And they say, well, I can count on Gerdau for the consistency that they bring, the service they offer, the quality of their products, the solutions that they bring. In other words, what we would refer to as a true partnership or a win-win relationship. Then we are successful for both ourselves and for our customers. And if customers are looking for that kind of business relationship, something more that's just transactional based, then I think they will be very comfortable in working with our organization, and I think that's why we would be their first choice.
Absolutely. That's wonderful to hear. And I would say to achieve excellence, it's not to create a written spec and match it. It's to be human, to be artistic, to make a connection with that customer and somehow change them for the better. It is the art of connection, the art of making a difference. Artists can do things that have never been done before. That's why they're artists, right? They dig deep to create passion. They connect by changing things for the better. The economy has been better, and the economy has been worse. Through it all, the market seeks out, recognizes, and embraces artists. People we can't live without. That's our opportunity right now. To be excellent to me means you have to be an artist. Paul, thank you for joining me on this show. I wish you and Gerdau continued success, and I hope 2013 and 14 will be the best year yet for you guys.
Thank you, Mark, so much. We greatly appreciate it, and it has indeed been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Paul Pickett, the sales manager for merchant wear products for the southern region for Gerdau Steel. We appreciate Paul's time, and when we return here on The Mark, we will delve into our social media mailbox. We've got a great question lined up for you, talking about our discussion today, focusing on excellence and sustainability. Stick around. More on The Mark is coming up right after this on 95.5 The Rock. Welcome back to On the Mark with Mark Hamade, presented by Salina Tech. It's the show dedicated to your success, and we're happy to bring it to you, but we couldn't do it without the help of our valued sponsors. At this time, I'd really like to thank Speedy Cash. If you need cash fast, visit your Salina Speedy Cash at Crawford and Broadway today. And by Salina Downtown Inc., you can discover Salina's historic downtown online at salinadowntown.com. Now it's time for our social media mailbox question. It is presented by Salina Tech, and today it comes from Taylor Burwell of Salina. And Mark, Taylor writes in, what's the best way to sustain your business in the current economy? What do you think?
Well, Taylor, the most important thing really is to focus on quality, focus on customer service, and focus on nurturing and inspiring your staff.
I would also add in with that, you're going to have competition out there. We've discussed that here frequently throughout our program this evening. You're going to have competition. So the best way to sustain your business is to show, what do I have that my competition doesn't? What services do I provide? What products do I offer that my competition can't? And now say you're going up against some extremely strong competition. They've got your products, they've got your services, and they can price them better than you can. Well, what do you do in that circumstance? In that case, all you can really do, you can't beat them on price. You have similar products. You have to give them the service and respect that people appreciate and will bring them back. If they know that you really care about their well-being and what you're using the products for, the services for, whatever you're doing, as long as you go into a store, you go into a business, and you come out of there thinking, wow, they really took the time to make sure I had exactly what I needed and really cared about the product or the project I have working right now. That is going to get people back. So really what it will come down to, sustaining your business in the current economy, if you're up against a competitor that has stronger pricing points than you and there's just nothing you can do, they have a bigger overhead, they have the ability to have smaller margins, then what you do is you have to outperform them with your service. You got to send them out the door smiling and make them want to come back in, time out. Now, if you're in more of a niche market, you do have a little bit more flexibility, at least in my opinion. You have that opportunity to really focus on the things that you can provide that your competition can't. So it's about compare and contrast with your competition, and about, as we always seem to go back to, going the extra mile to really make sure that the people that you work with love working with you. Well, Taylor, we'd really like to thank you for writing in and for posting a question to us today. You have just won $25 in Salina Downtown dollars, good as cash at any participating business in downtown Salina. We'd like to thank Salina Downtown for their generous donation for our social media mailbox segment. Well, we're about to wrap things up here this evening, but really want to focus one more thing. We've talked and we've mentioned it before. Go to Mark's blog. Check out what's going on. He's got a lot of great advice and ideas for you. You'll find it online at www.markhamade.com. That's www.markhamade.com. Mark, tell our listeners a little bit about what they're going to find right now when they go check out your blog.
Oh, well, they'll find a lot of advice on leadership quality, on mentoring, training, anything that they may need in life or in work will be on there to help them out.
And I know you got a great manager of your blog. Deborah Richmond does a lot of great work to really help out with that. And we appreciate all of her efforts to really help bring all that to the forefront. And she puts together a great product helping out with the blog.
Absolutely. She's wonderful.
Well, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of On the Mark presented by Salina Tech. I'd like to thank our guest, Paul Pickett, for joining us on the phone today from Gerdau Steel. For Mark Hamade, I'm Morgan Lillick saying so long. Be sure to check back in with us next Wednesday at 5:30 right here on 95.5 The Rock.